Hi everyone, my name is Linda, and for my final presentation, I will be talking about childhood obesity, and more specifically, the impact and influence that diet and exercise have on childhood obesity. So, a little bit about me. I am a fourth year biology major on the pre-med track, and I decided to take this class since I found the topics covered in this course to be very interesting and relevant to me, and also since this class counts toward my health disparities minor. Now, why is this topic important? As we learned in this course, the culture one is a part of has a huge influence on us. And from my readings, I learned that the prevalence of childhood obesity in America has increased significantly. For example, the percentage of children who are obese and have excess body fat in the United States has doubled in the past 2 to 3 decades. In 2015, data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey showed that almost 1 in 5 school children in America has obesity. Childhood obesity is a complex health issue. It has long-term effects on one's health, and those with obesity are also more likely to have additional chronic health diseases. Excess body fat can result from the food one eats and from consuming more energy than one uses for physical activity. Obesity during childhood harms the body in a variety of ways, and children are more likely to have breathing problems, like asthma and sleep apnea. They are also more prone to joint problems and high cholesterol and a multitude of other severe health issues. So, this presentation will be focused on childhood obesity, and I will go into more detail as to the impact diet and exercise has on children and their obesity levels. I will also talk about several research studies which have been conducted to examine this topic, as well as the findings from the literature. My research question is, how does diet and exercise influence and prevent the prevalence of childhood obesity in America? I chose to explore this question since childhood obesity in America has increased to a great extent and is a major concern. It has immediate and long-term influences on not only one's physical health, but also social and emotional health and well-being. Methods Overview. I conducted my literature review by using Google Scholar as my main source. Then, I narrowed it down my selection of articles by picking those which were directly related to studying the effects of diet or exercise or both on childhood obesity. I also made sure to double check that the source was from a scholarly journal or organization, and I used this method to obtain peer-reviewed articles and articles written by professionals, such as medical doctors in their fields. Okay, so what are some of the findings from the literature? Let's begin by talking about diet. The literature suggests that the diet one has impacts one's risk for obesity, and research on this topic shows that unhealthy foods, such as fast food, is indeed linked to increased obesity levels. In a national household survey conducted in the United States, the researchers tested the hypothesis that consumption of fast food adversely affects dietary factors linked to obesity risk. In their study, over 6,000 children and adolescents were surveyed, and the association between fast food consumption and measures of dietary quality were examined. From this survey, researchers found that there seems to be an adverse effect from the fast food which could increase risk for obesity. In another study, researchers at Harvard School of Public Health and Children's Hospital in Boston enrolled ethnically diverse children from public schools in Massachusetts and studied them over a 19-month period. They examined the association between consumption of sugar-sweetened drinks and obesity and found that for each additional drink consumed, both body mass index and frequency of obesity increased. Additionally, in another study, researchers found that family eating patterns have a potential to affect the eating behaviors of youth, and those without regular family dinners ate more sweets and unhealthy foods, which is linked to a greater risk of obesity. Similarly, another group of researchers concluded that eating family dinner is associated with better, healthier food intake patterns, which leads researchers to believe that it can be associated with lower levels of obesity. Now, let's talk about exercise. The literature I have read indicates that exercise does make a difference in the weight of children, and results generally agree that school-based exercise programs have some role in lowering obesity levels in children. This makes sense because the environment one is in plays a huge role in their life. Being exposed to an environment in places such as in schools and daycare centers can affect the level of physical activity in children. For example, a school with a running track and exercise gym is going to encourage more students to exercise than a school which lacks these resources. In one study, researchers evaluated how a school-based aerobic exercise program would affect obesity indexes in preschool children. Almost 300 children from 2 different schools were put in either a specially designed exercise program that consisted of morning walks and afternoon dance sessions, or a control group. The results suggest that school-based exercise programs can help to prevent an increase in body mass index and can reduce obesity in preschool children. When both diet and exercise were examined, findings indicate that prevention programs, which focus on healthy food and target school-aged children, can make it easier for them to be at a healthy weight. In one study, obese children were targeted for weight loss and participated in an exercise program. In this treatment study, the groups had weekly treatment meetings for 8 to 12 weeks and then monthly meetings for 6 to 12 months. The groups were given a diet plan and had their food diaries monitored every week. Results showed that treated children generally had long-term decreases in percentage overweight, and that exercise can enhance the long-term effects of diet interventions. To wrap this up, obese children are more likely than their peers to be bullied and to suffer from depression and lower self-esteem. Children with obesity have a higher risk of developing other health conditions such as diabetes and heart disease. Every day, we are surrounded by thousands and thousands of food options. It is up to adults and parents to decide what kind of food we want and are able to put into our bodies and the bodies of our children. What is important to us? Does taste matter more than nutrition, or do you always strive to nourish your body with what you consider to be healthy foods and nutrients? Exercise also matters and has an impact on health. These results are important because it shows that diet and exercise directly influence health, and the consumption of unhealthy foods along with an inactive lifestyle is going to have an adverse effect. Consuming a healthy diet and being active can help children be at and maintain a healthy weight throughout their childhood and into their later years. My results suggest that levels of obesity will continue to rise in the future unless action is taken to improve diet and exercise patterns in children. Schools could take more action to emphasize the importance of making healthy food choices and establishing good exercise habits at a young age. Research shows that prevention programs may reduce obesity, and it is essential for policymakers and parents to address this issue to avoid serious long-term consequences. By examining how diet and exercise influence the prevalence of childhood obesity in America, more future research can and should be done to educate the public in hopes of lowering childhood obesity levels. Thanks for listening.